He was a nice man. Came from a private family. His girlfriend in high school said, I've always known him to be sweet and caring. He had friends in high school, but after high school, he kind of kept to himself. He was online a bunch. He had Facebook friends. He was a little odd, but nobody noticed anything wrong with him. And maybe that was the problem. Few noticed him at all. It was January 8th, 2011, 10:10 in the morning. Jared Loeffner, a young college-age kid from Tucson, Arizona, walked into a political rally, shot 6 dead and injured 13 people. People were shocked that this could ever happen. How does this happen? Media outlets, they're throwing blame here and there. Most of them were wrong. Surely there was untreated psychological illnesses here. But how does a person get to that point? We all have our issues. Let me walk this way a little bit. Something that the news outlets and most people are not even thinking about. Where were his friends? Who were his friends that were saying, I see that you're hurting. Let's just talk about this. Or, those things that you're thinking and putting on YouTube, they're just, I have questions about those. Let's just talk. Where were they when this happened? The scary part of this is that we might not be that far from that stage in life. Do we have those people that ask us those questions? I see that you're hurting. Let's just talk about it. Do we kind of keep to ourselves so that the inner side of us, nobody knows? Because if people really knew, they would be shocked of what's inside us. People might just walk around and say, you know what? I've always known them to be sweet and caring. And maybe people just don't really notice us at all. One of the most neglected parts of a believer's life, I think, is that necessity of partners, of those deeper friendships. And today we're going to look at partners, deeper friendships as we walk along the journey of life. And as the text for this morning, we're going to use Ecclesiastes 4. It's the theme verse for this year for the cadets. And we're going to walk through it a little bit. We're going to start off with a picture of loneliness. This is King Solomon wrote these words. He's kind of like known for his wisdom. And let's read a little bit. Ecclesiastes 4. Again, I saw something meaningless under the sun. There was a man all alone. He had neither son nor brother. There was no end to his toil, yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. For whom am I toiling? He's asked. Why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? This too is meaningless, a miserable business. We're going to stop there in the passage, so if you want to follow along, that's great in your Bible. But this whole book of Ecclesiastes is kind of like a philosophy book. And it gets at the motivations that we have, and sometimes the frustrations to be human. He examines little parts of life like pleasure. What at the end of life, having fun all the time, what is the end of that? He goes into work, and he goes, as it all said and done, what is that getting you? Where's the purpose of that? He even gets down into wisdom and education and says, at the end of the day, what is the purpose for that? And that does not mean you should not go to school. All right, so all you guys in the front here, you're going to school. All right. But he looks at the big scheme of things. What's the purpose behind this? In the text, there's a man who his soul is empty. He's not content with his work. His heart the purpose is gone from there. He doesn't enjoy life. He doesn't enjoy time with other people. Solomon says this too is meaningless, a miserable business. What a depressing statement. What a depressing way to start off a sermon. That's just a miserable business. Hopefully we can see this as a picture of, to start off. This is a picture of loneliness. There's meaninglessness here. There's depression within here. You know, and most of us, we're breathing a little sigh of relief because we are not at all like this lonely, depressed man. We are not at all like him. You know, maybe the guy in the next bench over might be like this, but not us. We either have a family, or we belong to one, or we have a job, and we're finding fulfillment in that. When I was reading up for the sermon, read this article that started off with this big question, and it said, how are you dealing with your loneliness? And I immediately said, well, I'm not lonely. And I'm sure that you guys would read the same. Like, our knee-jerk reaction is to say, no, I'm not lonely. It's kind of like you say, someone comes up to you and says, why are you so angry? And you say, I'm not angry. It's our reaction. That's what we say. Well, of course, we're not angry. We're not lonely. You know, we're surrounded by people. I've got 4 kids and a wife, and sometimes I want to be lonely here. Just let it go. We're thinking of the person he's kind of the loner. Maybe at the lunch tables, he's all by himself. You know, that's the person who avoids all social interaction unless you bribe them to go to something. That's the person we're talking about, right? So before you fall into that trap of thinking this whole idea of loneliness is about somebody else, let's do a little self-inventory here. Whoever you are, whether you're single or married, whether you are a young person or have more gray on your head, whether you have any hair on your head, whether you're male or female, it does not matter who you are. We all have to deal with times where we are lonely. At various times, it has peaks and valleys, but either way, we will all have that. If you are human, you know this. Just here, when's the last time we believed that nobody understood us? When's the last time that we felt that no one truly felt like we do? Or the time that we thought that nobody cared about us or the things that we care about? Or you felt that you couldn't really show the people around you who you really are inside or how you felt? The way you felt deep down, and if they knew, they would be just shocked. We all have to deal with feelings of loneliness. That's just the way it is. You know, it's that great song of all the lonely people. Where do they all come from? All the lonely people. Where do they all belong? And they're us. It's not the person that loses a spouse after decades of marriage. It's not only the person that has had a job and now they're feeling humiliated and they can't deal with losing that job. It's not only that person. It's not the person that has that girlfriend rip their heart out. It's not only those people, it's us. We have to deal with those times of being lonely. Solomon kind of grabs this canvas and paints a picture of loneliness, and he starts there. And here's the problem. Instead of finding constructive ways to deal with our loneliness, because it's there, we know it's there, oftentimes we hide our feelings and push them off to the side. And it's not like we're not dealing with it somehow. It looks like we're dealing with it, but we're not getting rid of the pain, and we're not